Hello and welcome to yet another edition of the Connect My Biz podcast. I'm your host, Greg Wilson, the owner and publisher of Connection Small Business Journal. You can always find us online at www.connectmybusiness.me. Again, www.connectmybusiness.me. If you are not connected with us on social media, I encourage you to do so. Simply type in the @ Connect My Biz. Again, that's the @ Connect My Biz. And today's podcast, I'm very excited about. From a small business standpoint, from an entrepreneur standpoint. And not just that, I'm sitting next to a very good friend of mine. I'm not sure, how many years have we known each other, Kim?
Like 7-8 years.
7 or 8 years. So we're approaching a decade.
Yes.
All right. So we want to stay in business so we can have a decade worth of celebration to take place. But my good friend of mine, Kim Baxley Wilson, a serial entrepreneur at heart. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Greg. How are you today?
I'm doing well. So I brought you on today to discuss red tent life.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. What I really would like to do, Kim, is just jump straight in and let's go for the jugular on this. Red tent life. Let's talk about it.
So I don't know if you're familiar with the book Red Tent by Anita Diamant that came out about 20 years ago. So in the Bible, women were sent to the red tent when they were unclean. So when they were having their menses or when they were pregnant or when they were giving birth. And so a lot of women have taken on the red tent for pregnancy and childbirth discussions. But I'm saying that it would be very short-sighted to think that the only thing they talked about in the red tent was pregnancy and babies. I think we're a sisterhood, and we need a place where we can go and talk about things that matter to us.
Right.
So we're going to talk about, we're going to tell birth stories and talk about pregnancy and talk about infertility and menopause, but we're also going to talk about men, and we're going to talk about wine, and we're going to talk about all of the things, parenting and marriage and being a single woman and all of the things. So I've gotten really good response so far from a lot of, I polled a lot of women on Facebook, and I'm almost instantly had 52 topics. So it was supposed to be a weekly podcast, but it's probably going to end up being every couple of days now.
And that was going to be my next question, because once you put it out on social media and you receive just that instant feedback, what are some of the things? And I know that you talked about infertility and men bashing.
We're not going to bash men at all.
Yeah, okay.
No, we're not. I promise.
All right.
You're welcome to listen.
I'm welcome to, and trust me, I will listen.
Yes.
But what are some of the topics that you immediately receive feedback from? Like, hey, you're offering this product, you're offering this place, this safe place, if you will, online for women. What are some of the topics that you receive?
Parenting gifted children, parenting children that have problems, being married to someone who's gone all the time, and being a single parent who is married. We're doing a 5-part series on old wives' tales. So things that you've heard about how to make yourself go into labor. And I'm going to be talking with Debbie Hinckley Miller, who has been a nurse and a doula and a lactation specialist for longer than me, so longer than 21 years.
Wow.
And we're going to discuss some of the things that people have told us that they've tried and whether they work and whether they don't work and that sort of thing. We're going to talk about one of my favorite things, and I might have to come out of the closet on this one.
Okay.
About being the smart girl in the room, and how do you handle that as a woman? Because do you try to dumb things down, or do you embrace your intelligence? How do you handle that sort of thing? So I've got a specialist that I'm going to talk to about that, and I've got a lot of friends in the childbirth world and the parenting world that I'll be having on as guests, and so I'm really excited about it.
All right, cool. So let's go back a little bit.
Okay.
All right. So and I know you. I've known you again, 8-9 years or whatever. But explain to people, again, and I understand the concept. I've never read the book, but I have read the Bible.
Okay.
And so I'm very familiar with, even the book that talks about, I believe it was Sarah who said the custom of women is upon me. That was in the Bible. So I knew then what you meant when you mentioned red tent. All right. So, but you also talked about you being a doula for all these years.
Yes.
So just briefly explain to people, what is a doula?
Okay.
And, what's all involved with that, so take that away.
Okay, so a doula is a professional labor support person who provides educational, physical, and emotional support for a laboring woman and her family.
Okay.
So I meet with mom. Like I just left a first meeting with a mom who's due in July, and she might hire me. We'll see. And then
she will hire you. We're speaking that into existence.
That's awesome. And then so I'll meet with her over the course of her pregnancy, and I'll answer questions for her. I don't offer medical advice, but I can steer her in the right direction. I'm kind of like that trusted older woman who fills that role that we don't have that much in society anymore.
Right.
So when she calls me and she's in labor, I'll go to her house, or I'll meet her at the hospital, or if she's having a home birth, I'll meet her at her house and we'll just do it there. I do not deliver babies. I do not catch babies. I only coach. Midwives catch, doulas coach.
Right. So that's the difference between a doula.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. I don't do anything medical. I don't take the place of dad or the partner, because it's not always a dad.
Right.
I don't take the place of the partner. I help the partner figure out what to do. Because when you can take all the the childbirth classes in the world, but when you're in there with the person that you love the most and they're in pain, whatever somebody tells you is what you're going to do.
Exactly.
So if they say she really needs to get drugs, and you're going to go, honey, you really need to get drugs.
Right.
But if that's not what mom wants, I'm going to help you figure out how to do that double hip squeeze, or where to put that rice sock, or, how to comfort her so that she can have the birth that she wants, that she's planned for.
Right.
So, and I stay with mom till breastfeeding is established. And then I call Debbie if I need to, because she's my lactation consultant. Right. So,
well, I don't mean to take us in a
team. No, it's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to necessarily take us in a different direction for the podcast topic today, discussing red tent. But as you were saying that, I of course, I have 4 children. So as you were talking, I went down memory lane, and I remember just feeling, quite honestly, out of place.
Yes.
In that particular environment, yes, I was the father. And was fortunate enough and blessed enough to be to be able to be present at the birth of all of my children. But I truly remember being out of place. Yeah. And needing ice chips for myself.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
So it's my role to make you feel like you're a part of the team, and to make sure you don't get left out on
so your role, even as a doula, also is there. Not only for the family as a whole, and not just the mom that's in labor. Yes, that's amazing. That's amazing. What I would label even as a very important role as well.
I think it is. I love what I do.
So with Red Tent Life,
yes,
and when does it officially launch? Let's talk about that.
Okay, so our very first, we're going on air live on April 10th.
Okay.
And that is, you can listen to it all over the world, and we've got every social media channel locked down, I think, and I'll give you the links to all of those. You can go to redtentlife.com, or you can go to Red Tent Life Podcast on Facebook and join the conversation, because we want to talk to everybody. But we're going live with we're gonna record some ahead of time, and then we're gonna go live and start airing the podcasts on April 10th. And the reason we're not starting until April the 10th, first of all, podcasts are new for women. So, show of hands out there, how many women listen to podcasts that aren't about murder? Because all women listen to are podcasts about murder, it seems. So, or crafts and murder, but whatever. So I'm finding that I'm having to educate,
Okay, keep it going.
Yeah, sorry.
We'll address
we'll
address
We'll
those
talk
questions.
about that in a minute. So yes, so I'm having to go through the educational process of how do you listen to podcasts? Does it cost to listen? Podcasts are free to listen to.
Yes, they are.
So I'm looking for sponsors though. So if you want to be a sponsor for the podcast, we can always use upgraded materials and equipment and stuff. So I'm having to go through the educational process with women of this is what this is and this is why you should listen and why you should get involved. So, I've got to stop looking at the screen because people are typing and I can't read it that far away. I'll talk to you in a minute, Emily. Right. So anyway, all
right, so not only are we recording live on Facebook, we're also recording a podcast live as well. So our interaction with Facebook is coming up shortly. All right. So you talked about educating women.
Yes.
About
podcasts.
About podcasts, and it's true. Yeah. Statistics show that men, quite honestly, outperform women in terms of listening to podcasts. Yes. I mean, we're more involved with podcasts, whether it be podcasts about sports, machinery of some sort. Yes. In my case, business. All of that. All right. So, are you finding that it's truly an uphill battle? Do you find yourself fighting like a war, if you will, on two fronts?
Okay, so for the last 20 years, I've been trying to get people to understand what a doula was, and now that they all understand what a doula is, the podcast is not a problem. Right. Like I know how to have this battle. I know how to have this fight because I've been spending 20 years trying to explain to people what a doula is. Right. So now that's pretty mainstream, now we can start working on podcasts.
Exactly. Now you definitely have, Kim, you do have the platform. You have everything that is necessary to be successful. You already have it. Number one, you have the experience of a doula, and you understand that the concept of marketing and all of that. And I'm super stoked, quite honestly, about what you have coming. So we're going to take. I want to at least answer one question that was posed.
Yeah, sure.
That was posed here on Facebook, and that question, I believe, if I can scroll down.
It's from Billy.
You want to take Billy's?
Well, both of them are fine.
Let's do both of them. Billy states, how doulas wear so many hats and find time for all of your passions.
He's saying, how doula?
Yeah, like, how doula. Right. I reworded it on purpose.
So, no, it's all good. So Billy and I have been friends since high school. And he's known me through pretty much all of my different things. So I have a web development company, and I host websites, and I monitor the local musicians guild. I don't sing with a band currently, but so I have a lot of hats and a lot of different passions. And I think that I probably have some. You called me a serial entrepreneur. But I'm kind of a parallel entrepreneur. Okay. So I have a whole bunch of businesses going on at one time. But it's also that when somebody goes into labor, I'm not in an office or behind a cash register that I can't leave. Right. I could leave this podcast right now when Tori goes into labor. Right. Tori going to labor.
After the podcast. Tori.
After the podcast. Okay. And then so Emily said.
All right. So Emily states, Kim, I was about to raise my hand. Then you said my murder podcast don't count. So you asked a question.
Yes.
You asked a question that, hey, how many women actually listen to a podcast?
Yes.
So, all right.
So Emily, while she was in labor, we were watching Law and Order. Law and Order SVU while she was in labor.
While she was in labor.
Because she loves murder podcasts.
Right. Okay.
So it's all good.
All right. So where do you see? And I'm going to ask this. I'm going to ask a series of questions. The first question I'm going to ask is, where do you see Red Tent Life 5 years from now?
Oh wow! So in 5 years, I would like to see Red Tent Life conferences going on around the country, where women can come and talk about things that are important, and have speakers come and talk about things that are important. And have things for men too, because men are often mystified by the things that go on inside the red tent because they're kept out. While your wife's in labor, you're relegated to the couch sometimes. And I feel like we need our place where we can talk, but we